Jesus was about to pray in the Garden of Gethsemane. This is right before he was going to be turned in by Judas to be crucified. And Jesus is praying, and he said that he was sorrowful even to the point of death. So he tells his disciples that went with him to Gethsemane, he tells them, stay watch with me. Pray. Stay up. Jesus was about to partake in something that was going to literally and spiritually change the face of the game. Literally was going to change everything. Was going to change the course of humanity. Was going to change the course of destiny for all mankind. Literally was about to change everything. And that was by his death, burial, and resurrection, to be the perfect atonement for our sins. That way we could have a bridge back to the Father by having faith in him who was not a sinner, yet died as if he was one for our place, into the story of grace. And so here's Jesus telling his disciples, stay up, pray. Jesus goes on and he prays and he comes back, and what do we read? We find Jesus finding the disciples and they were asleep. Imagine you're there and you're literally at the very brink of something that was about to change history, and you fall asleep. God is trying to do something in your life that is going to change everything around you. God is trying to push you towards your calling. God is trying to push you towards what he created you for. God is trying to push you towards your purpose and your whole reason for even being sent on this earth. Are you keeping watch? And are you praying is the question. We may say, well, I'm fine, Rafa. I mean, I go to church, but it's not just about one night. And it's not just about going to church every Sunday and every Wednesday and I don't know, whatever days you have service. It's not just about that. It's not just about your prayer before breakfast and your prayer before lunch and your prayer before dinner. It's not just your prayer when you wake up and your prayer before you go to bed. It's not just your prayer when you see something bad or someone tells you, hey, pray for me. We're not just talking about those things. I want you to realize how important this is, because God is wanting to do something great. He's inviting you into something amazing. Something that would literally change the lives of those around you. You go to work, there's people there that don't know Jesus. You go to school, there's people there that don't know Jesus. You live at your house, there's people there that probably don't know Jesus. In your neighborhood, there's people that don't know Jesus. You're going to be driving home tonight. There's people there that don't know Jesus. And God is saying, keep watch. Stay up and pray with me. God is trying to invite you into something great in your life. Are you awake or are you asleep on it? Are you falling asleep on what God is trying to do in your life and around your life? Are we praying and staying connected with God as much as we should be? Are you praying as much right now when things are probably going okay as much as you were when everything was going wrong? When she broke up with you, when he broke up with you, when you lost your job, when you were about to lose your house, your family was in a financial rut. Are you praying as much now as you were when the bad times were there? Moses stayed connected with God, and though it took him a while to turn around and get back on track, he did it. And what happened after he did? He led the Israelites out of Egypt. David was connected with God. He slew Goliath. Paul was connected with God. He was a pioneer for the church. He went from killing Christians to making Christians. Samson stayed connected with God even after everything. Killed the Philistines. Are you connected with God and allowing Him to work in your life? Are you? Are you allowing God to work in your life? He is trying to speak to us. He is trying to get a hold of us. He is trying to speak to you. He is trying to move in you. Are you listening? Are you even paying attention? Are you even awake, or are you asleep? God is trying to show us wonders. He's trying to do things to advance His kingdom. God is trying to bring revival. But we're asleep. We staying up with Him. He is trying to do great and marvelous things. Or we dozed off and our attention is elsewhere. Where's your attention? Where's your attention? You can fall asleep on God with a lot of things. By focusing more on an individual than on God. By focusing more on yourself than on God. By focusing more on your job than on God. By focusing more on your own problems than on God. By focusing more on your own schooling and your career than on God. But how much money you can bring in on a daily basis. You can be distracted by so many things. You can even be distracted by what you don't have. And that rule and guide your life. I don't have this, I don't have that. It'll take the place of your heart. We can be so distracted by so many things in this world that we fall asleep on God and we put God on the back burner. And every once in a while when we hit a wall or there's a road bump in our walk, we're like, oh yeah, I forgot I had God. God, can you fix this for me real quick? God, can you move this out my way real quick so I can just keep going on my way? God is looking for some people that will literally give themselves totally away. Say, God, my life is in your hands. And whatever you desire from me is what I desire to do. God, if you want me to do this, then I will do that. If you want me to go here, then I will go there. If you want me to stay here, then I will stay here. If you want me to say this, then I'll say this. God, it is you that runs my life, not myself. See, Jesus finds the disciples asleep. They couldn't stay up. They did not stay connected with Christ. They dozed off. And Jesus asked them, what does He ask them? He says, you couldn't stay up 1 hour? You couldn't stay up 1 hour with me? And sometimes it's our impatience that separates us from staying connected with God. God, I've been asking for this for a long time. God, when are you going to do this in my life? God, when are you going to start working in me? God, when are you going to start making my ministry look more legit? God, when are you going to start doing these things? Then when we don't see them happening, we doze off. We get distracted. And we're like, well, God's not going to do it. Let me just step aside and just worry about myself. We can't get impatient with what God is trying to do because God's timing is never early. God's timing is never late. God's timing is perfect. So that is the question for tonight. Have we dozed away from God? Have you even noticed it? Have you even noticed that you've dozed away from God? Are we blinded by our lives that we forget that He lets us breathe? Our goals become our focus. We forget that He holds the universe together. I becomes the center of our everything. And God is truly the center. Our culture has blinded us. It's time to open up your eyes. It's time to wake up.